Hello again once more, it's Steve here from CELTAhelper.com and I'm back to answer another question in detail. This time from a reader who hasn't studied in a long time and she's worried about writing the CELTA assignments. So let's get straight into it. The main points to think about here are the instructions that you're given to write the CELTA assignments and also the writing style. Now, much of this will overlap, but let's start off with the instructions. Okay, you're going to have, first of all, a clear word count. Now, the word count is very strict, as it is in almost all British educational institutions or English language institutions, wherever you go in the world. They want you to follow that very closely. So please take note of this and do not go over it. Maybe if you ask your tutors, they might give you a 10% above or below maximum limit or minimum limit, but do not chance going over that. Make sure you are definitely within the word limit. And also, if they ask for references, as they will in some assignments, make sure that they do not count for the word limit, as they shouldn't, but some places might say they do. So double check that first. But you've got a strict word limit, so you know what you need to do, and you can break up each section. For the ones where you have to write the paragraphs more, well, you can break them up into appropriate sections with even word counts for each part. Also, I mentioned referencing. Just check what referencing style you need for things like the focus on the learner assignment, where you may have to show understanding of theory and so on and background knowledge. You don't have to do a lot. Most of them don't expect much, but for referencing you can get help from free websites like citethis4me.com, or you can use my guide on 10 tech tips for writing CELTA assignments with a bit more on the referencing. But it shouldn't be a major problem. You can get free apps and websites to do it for you, as I mentioned, so you don't need to stress over that. Just check the style of referencing they want and follow that consistently. It won't be a problem because referencing doesn't feature heavily, although you do need to use it. And the other thing is then the points to cover that you are given. Okay, you will be given specific points you need to cover in each assignment, and just make sure you check each one off, and that's all you have to do. You're going to be asked to cover lots of different parts of your learning and reflecting on what you've done. But if you're not ticking off every box on that list, and you can see some of this in things like the CELTA 5 handbook and other articles online, you're not going to get the pass. So it's really quite formulaic. It's not, you don't have to be an outstanding writer. You just have to write clearly and concisely to get through it. So make sure you're following or you're ticking off everything on the list they give you, and be thorough. Okay, a lot of people, because they're rushing, forget to check, or they think it's not worth checking because they need to move on to the next thing. Just check with that list that you are happy that you've covered everything you need. If you like, you could start by making the Word document for your assignment as a table with each point to go through on the side, so you can fill the boxes. Let's say if you have 2 columns and the first column has the points to cover and the second column is blank for you to write in, you can just simply fill those boxes to make sure. It might work, it might be a bit awkward in some places, but that's one way you can try it. But really, you don't need to worry about it too much. You just need to make sure you're following the instructions. That's the biggest thing I can say, as I've probably stressed in this answer. And don't worry if you're coming back after a long time without writing. If you're on the CELTA course, it's because they think you have a high enough level. And the other thing we should really talk about is style. Now, one thing, and I do a lot of, at the moment, academic English teaching. One thing we're always stressing is try to use an impersonal style and don't use the things like I or we, etc. But in CELTA, there's a lot of reflective writing, and you can get away with it in the sense that they ask you to reflect on your learning. Okay, so for example, the final assignment, Lessons from the Classroom, will ask you to reflect on what you've learned, and you can only really do that by saying I, he, she, talking about students in the focus on the learner assignment. So don't worry about using what seems like a slightly informal style, because a lot of it is actually reflection. And the other point is then some of the assignments you will be given tasks, and they will there will be many different tasks within the assignments. So you won't actually be writing paragraphs as such in many of them. You'll be writing answers to specific short questions, but there will be many of them. So don't stress too much about this. In summary, I hope that has clarified some points for you and not too confusing. And if you have any questions, just please let me know and get in touch via Twitter, Facebook, or email. And I will talk to you soon. So thank you for listening. Bye.